Rayman is such a strange and bizarre character. I mean, look at him. Need I say more? While I enjoy all of the mainline games, the two UbiArt games, Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends, are my personal favorites. 2003 was Rayman's final game, which was Rayman 3 Hoodlum Havoc. Because in 2006, once the rabbits came along, they became the new main attraction. And for some reason, they got a game almost every year since 2006. Why? But in 2011, Rayman finally got his return with Rayman Origins. When Ubisoft finally decided to bring back Rayman, they went back to basics and made a 2D platformer, hence the name Origins. And they nailed it. They didn't try to be different or innovative. They didn't try to tack on any unnecessary gimmicks like motion controls or touchscreen mechanics. The game was just fun. Fairly simple pick up and play platformer that up to 4 people could play. Unfortunately, I never did play with anybody, so I never got to experience the chaotic cooperative experience, but it's perfectly enjoyable as a single player game. The plot isn't anything overly complicated. I mean, Rayman's a mascot from the 90s, what do you expect? He comes from a time with fairly simplistic stories, like rescue the princess, or stop the evil scientist, or escape from TV land, or become a superhero and save the day by using the power of farts. Anyways, everyone is asleep at the snoring tree, and their snoring wakes up the undead below, and they send an army to wreak havoc. Everyone gets captured, and the Bubble Dreamer has some nightmares, and shit gets real. Like I said, nothing overly crazy. As far as gameplay goes, like I've already said, Origins doesn't do anything to make itself stand out, because it doesn't need to. It's your typical pick a level, get to the end, and collect crap along the way. As you progress through the game, you'll get new abilities like running up walls, shrinking, and flying, because apparently Rayman's hair is a propulsion system, and Glowbox flaps his arms. Yeah, his fat ass ain't flying nowhere. There are a few levels where you ride a mosquito and it becomes an on-rail shooter, which is fun. I like it because it breaks up the monotony. You can either fire at the enemies with little pellets or suck them up and regurgitate them back at the other enemies. There are also a few levels where you chase this cage thing. Anyways, it's the thing that has the nymphs locked up in it, and once you free her, she's the one that gives you your new abilities. And what's the first thing Rayman does?
See?
Good enough for me. Every level has its own set of collectibles, because no game in history has ever done that. There are a few hidden cages throughout each level. Find them and break them open to free these little purple guys. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what they're called off the top of my head, and I'm too lazy to look it up, so I'm just gonna call them purple dudes. Anyways, they're the main collectibles that are used to progress through the game and unlock levels. Think of them as stars from Mario. They're almost like currency. The other collectibles are the lums and medals. Collect as many lums as possible throughout a level and you can get even more little purple guys. The medals are earned by doing speed runs and collecting enough lums, and as far as I know, they don't unlock anything. I think they're just a completionist thing. The levels range from typical to unique. The ones I found more interesting were the Desert of Didgeridoos, which is a desert filled with a bunch of instruments. There was a level like that in the original Rayman. Another one was Gourmet Land, which is food themed, having both icy and hot areas. And some of the music in those levels are so good. I love the music in this game. You got some that are okay, but then you have other ones that use vocals and they are fucking hilarious. Specifically, the Sea of Serendipity is the most amusing track to listen to in the whole game. When you look at other games of the same vein, you know, mascot platformers, whether it be 2D or 3D, I feel that what makes Rayman stand out is its goofiness or silliness. You know, when you look at Sonic, when he came along, he had the attitude, at least that's what he was known for, and that's one of the things that made him stand out from other platformers, especially Mario, who is a little more like the, I don't want to say happy-go-lucky, but, you know, he was just much more calm, I guess. One of the things that gives Rayman its charm is its goofiness, and Origins and Legends don't skimp on that at all. A lot of subtle things that sometimes you may not even notice. You know, like for example, like when you free the little purple guys from the cage, whose name I still can't remember, Rayman or whoever you're playing as will pose behind a picture. Or, like, if you find a secret area, you'll hear the audience go, ooh, like they're surprised. Some of the characters will actually talk in Pig Latin, like the nymphs. But that being said, not everything is quite so lighthearted. Some of the bosses are almost like nightmare fuel, like the plant boss. And fortunately, Origins did well enough for Ubisoft to justify making a sequel, which they called Rayman Legends. And it was planned to be a Wii U exclusive. A Wii U exclusive. How well did that work out? And you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And fortunately, they didn't try to reinvent the game, they just improved on it. And Legends, once again, just like Origins, doesn't have an overly crazy plot. It takes place about 100 years after Origins, and Rayman wakes up from his long nap and has to stop the nightmare threat again. The levels and enemies are based on real-world myths and legends like medieval castles and whatnot. Gone is the world map, and now we have paintings where you more or less just select your level and go. I don't know, it works, I guess. It's kind of like a fancy level select, but I can't help but wonder if it's supposed to be a reference to Mario 64. I mean, I doubt it, but it's still kind of cool to think of it that way. Speaking of Mario, you can't actually play as Mario. However, he looks kind of odd. Not sure why. His nose is a lot bigger for some reason. There's a few things done to keep it fresh. Legends took more of a artistic look compared to Origins' cartoony style. You know, it looks almost like a painting. I do like that they changed it because it makes it stand out from Origins. You know, it gives them each their own distinct look, even though they play basically the same, which is fine. And because it was intended to be a Wii U exclusive, they had to take advantage of that gamepad, though it's not shoved down your throat. There are some areas scattered throughout the game where you have to swipe the screen to cut the ropes or tilt the gamepad to rotate something on the screen. You know, it's done sparingly, and it very much is just a nice break up the monotony type of thing. I feel that they went much more above and beyond with this game. You know, while Origins had roughly 60 levels, Legends has almost double that. Sure, some of them might be remasters of Origins levels, but still, it's a lot. I think some of the most interesting levels are the music levels. Specifically, the remixed version, where they fuck with you by using filters. Let me just let one play out to show you what I mean. There are actually a couple of other Rayman games that utilize the UbiArt engine. Unfortunately, they're mobile games such as Rayman Jungle Run, Rayman Fiesta Run, and Rayman Adventure, and unfortunately I've never gotten a chance to play them, and as far as I know, they're no longer even listed. So unfortunately, I can't really talk about them. But yeah, I very much love the 2 Rayman games that use the UbiArt engine, and I wish we'd get more, but I don't know, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. They are highly polished and just plain fun. Unfortunately, Rayman is one of those series that gets a few games, then disappears for a while, then gets a few games, and then disappears for a while. But I'm sure he'll be back one way or another. As long as it's not something like another Rabbids game, or Rayman Brain games. Because that's what we need. Educational Rayman games.
Follow the path indicated by the number that you hear me say. 24. 28.